This regular meeting of the Wetzel County Board of Education is called to order. We'll begin tonight, as we normally do, with the opening Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation. With us tonight is the Arrow of Light Cub Scout Pack 128 out of New Martinsville. 4 of those young folks are with us and honoring our meeting tonight as they work on their leadership and government badge and work in relationship to that. And so they have agreed to come and lead us in the opening Pledge of Allegiance. Anyone not wishing to participate in the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation may stay seated. Come on up, guys.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we just ask that your continued blessings and encouragement rest upon us as we strive to make choices and decisions that affect Wetzel County schools. We recognize, Father, there are many challenges and difficulties that we often face, but we also know that there are great things happening in Wetzel County schools, including these young folks that with us today and others, Father, and we just pray that we can be an encouragement to them and be the kind of adults and light in their lives that they need. Thank you so much for caring for us and continue to be with those who are challenged this day. And we ask all this through thy Son's name. Amen. First item on our agenda tonight is a presentation for the Wetzel Tyler Young Entrepreneurs Development Program. Sharon Campbell, Executive Director from Wetzel Tyler Chamber of Commerce, is with us. Thank you for coming and sharing with us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I've got some handouts for you. The Scouts are certainly good at creating leaders. The schools are good at creating leaders. And the Wetzel Tyler Chamber of Commerce is working on creating leaders and new young entrepreneurs. So I've got a handout for you on our draft proposal of the program, and then I'll read for you. First off, thank you for this opportunity to speak to all of you this evening. I've got a few prepared statements so that I don't forget anything. Again, I'm Sharon Campbell. I'm the Executive Director of the Wetzel Tyler Chamber of Commerce. We're losing population, not just families moving out, but our young people, even if their family stays, tend to leave. And they leave because they can't find viable employment here, or they can't find enough employment in order to raise and support a family. What many of them have not considered is owning their own businesses. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, and an initiative that we have that we'd like to start, and we hope that you agree that it sounds pretty good. We're hopeful to reverse this trend of losing population. Our strategy is to support young people who wish to own and operate small businesses right here at home. The Wetzel Tyler Young Entrepreneurs Development Program is aimed at providing to a group of talented and motivated students the needed skills to develop small businesses. These small businesses will provide them with a livable income as well as to add to our economic base. The Chamber is tasked with supporting and helping to develop the economic base of the counties. We not only provide networking opportunities, promotion of member businesses, participation in community events, but we also help in identifying and nourishing new businesses. This is what this program is aimed at doing. Everything starts with a dream, an idea. Uber, Airbnb, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple. They all started small, and they started from an idea. And so we know that young people are innovative, they're creative, they will think of things that we haven't even thought about. What tomorrow is going to look like for them is entirely different as to how it looks to us right now. they have more information at their disposal than we've ever had. They've been raised with our most advanced technology and have the greatest opportunities right now, today. If we are successful, we hope to develop as many of the student business plans into viable businesses as possible. Each year, the Chamber hosts the Entrepreneurial Pitch, where local entrepreneurs compete for cash prizes to either start their business, grow an existing business, or make repairs. Our hope is that participants in the Wetzel Tyler Young Entrepreneurs Development Program will also compete in the Entrepreneurial Pitch. So we see it as a cycle. We give them this training. They compete in the Entrepreneurial Pitch or start their businesses from there because they'll be able to. And then from there, we're looking at creating an incubator for businesses. Additionally, it's our hope that in the near future, we'll be able to provide a small business incubator. The incubators will provide a brick and mortar building where new businesses can launch with minimal overhead expenses. The Wetzel Tyler Young Entrepreneurs Development Program is funded through a $10,000 grant from Marathon Oil and MPLX Foundation. Okay, and you've got the draft. And I won't go through all of this with you, but if you have questions, you can certainly contact my office, email, call, and I'll walk you through it. The goal is to keep young talent within our communities and the state of West Virginia, to encourage and support entrepreneurship and to build local businesses. Our mission is to foster the development of young entrepreneurs, to provide the necessary foundation for starting a small business, and to give our youth a broad and diverse foundation for understanding their community, the challenges, and the opportunities within the community. Okay. Any questions?
Ms. Campbell, I'm excited about, we do things called with depth of knowledge.
Right.
And this is certainly, we just had this discussion the other day, certainly the highest depth of knowledge when it comes down to making the entrepreneurial pitch. And it's a DAP 4, depth of knowledge 4. And so first, that's really exciting for us, you know, just for amping up the rigor for our students. And hopefully this will not just be, we will be able to use some of what you do with students who are not in this program and really increase the depth of knowledge and the questioning and, like I said, the rigor in our classrooms. So we appreciate this from an educational standpoint. I also appreciate the fact that there is this incubator, the brick and mortar building, so that these young people have an opportunity to get started without that overhead that's so often a detriment to them, and especially coming from small community, maybe not having the financial advantages. So, I mean, you're really hitting all of the nails on the head for an Appalachian school district with really, really smart kids who deserve this chance. And you're helping us be better educators because of it. So it's we're big on family and community partnerships. And I just really appreciate the work that's going into this to help Wetzel County schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things I want to say is co-starters. I'll be facilitating the classes, and my background is in corporate training, and I was training manager when Teletech was in existence. So training is something I'm comfortable with. I've been an educator. One of the hopes, now the incubator we don't have yet. That is something we're hoping to write a huge grant and be able to buy. We're looking at sheds, actually. If you've ever seen sheds that have been turned into shops. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for locations. So that's all on our dream board.
Fantastic.
But if we can get young people to stay and use their talents, and they can actually be, they can depending on what their product is, they can be global. You know, you can live, if you love this community, you can stay here. but you can make a tremendous income because we're gonna teach them how to take whatever their product is or their service to make it global. They know how to do that because this is the generation that has been raised with computers from day one. So they know how to use the technology. We need to give them some guidance on doing that. But the incubator will allow us to really nurture them because that's what needs to take place with it. What we are asking of the Board of Education is that you support. You know, if you like what you see, you think this is something that is useful to our young people, then we are asking for your support for the program. My next conversation is going to be with their business teachers and then with the students. Now, the students who may be selected for this, we really want serious students. So we're asking that recommendations be made, and your most students, it's a 10-week commitment. And most of it is going to be offered in the school, because we're going to travel to all of the high schools. But there may be days when we have to do it by Zoom because, you know, for whatever reason, we'll be able to do that. But we need your support. We need the support of the Board of Education in order to get others, you know, to support it as well. So that's why I'm here to present this to you. I'm excited about it. Our office is certainly excited about it. We got $10,000 to do it. The books the maximum amount of students will be 25, 5 from each school, and the books are $200 a piece. And that's not going to cost the students anything. That's been picked up by the grant. So it's for your consideration. Any questions? Just my information is on there. You can contact me.
We appreciate the opportunity for the partnership in this. We're not nearly as geographically locked as we once were.
Right.
Our world is shrinking.
Yeah.
And you can find a way to live right here and do great things.
Anywhere in the world.
That's right. And so we appreciate the opportunity to be able to engage in that. I think it's important if our communities are going to stop the ever shrinking, we're going to have to get outside of the thinking of just, well, I'm going to walk down here and get a job that 50 years ago you could do like that.
That's right.
We've got to get out of that thinking.
That's right.
And so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is actually, I want to come back to our Cub Scout Pack 128 from Martinsville. I have some recognitions for those of you who came with us today, and so when I announce your name, if you would come up and receive your recognition, and I'll let them pause up here. Parents or anyone who wants to grab a picture of them when they come up, you'd be glad and welcome to do that. And so Chase Hamill, give him a round of applause. Harley Aston. Chase, you can sit out here, buddy. Come up here. Sam Ruffner, did I say that right? And Dave, come on up with them too, if you would, and they're leader.
Rodney's he's actual dead leader.
Okay,
Oh,
I
this
got
is great.
so you're sitting okay, well, thank you.
Right up there,
Yeah, come right here in front of us,
superintendent.
if you would, and then you got Rodney, is it?
Yeah.
Well, nice to meet you, thank you for coming, you guys can slide
How
over
are
here
you?
on the other
Good.
side.
Good.
Yeah, that'll
All
work too,
right,
that'll
we'll
work.
take a couple here. All right, on three, y'all looking at me? All right, 1, 2, 3. I'll do one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Thanks
Thank you very much. I think you're gonna hang out with it, Greg.
Yes, we're gonna stay with me.
Oh, good, too, Next item on our agenda are delegations. I do not believe we have any tonight. And so the next item, item 5, is superintendent's information. Mrs. Wells.
Hey guys, I've got in front of you West Virginia Standards for Effective Schools number 6 and 7. These we will be going over within the next few meetings, and it's very refreshing, and I'm very grateful to think that almost a year ago, we started these. And we've worked through them, and I feel like that we have a firm understanding of these West Virginia standards. And the number 6 is the frequent monitoring of student progress. And number 7 is family and community partnerships. And for those of you that know Wetzel County Schools, we have 2 strategic plan goals, and they are instructional leadership, which is also one of the West Virginia standards for effective schools, and the second goal is family and community partnerships. As we review these, I want you to look carefully at number 6, because you will see that Mrs. Wells has made a mistake on number 6. So I really want you to look at the red and the gold at the bottom, and by the next time when we come together and we start going through these with a fine-tooth comb, you will notice that I will have changed that gold one to the appropriate one. If you look at number 7, family and community partnerships, I don't think I made mistakes on this one. However, I really want to talk with you about this, and I want you to think about this before we address this meeting after next. We had that as a strategic plan goal. We feel as a county that it is still something that we have work yet left to be done on. We do tick off all the nice boxes for family and community engagement. We have the family nights. We have the make and take it. We have the meet the teams. We have the band concerts. We have the dramatic performances. We have all of those things, and those are very traditional. And they're good at getting the same parents in all the time. Our goal is going to be, and we're going to need everybody's help with this, is to reach those parents who may have lost the enchantment with the school system, who may not be as engaged with us as they would like to be, and make it a meaningful, relevant connection for them and for the students for next year. So I just would really like for you guys to put that in your thinking cap and really ponder that as we approach these next 2 meetings and we start working on standards 6 and 7. So you can put those to the side. In my weekly updates to you, you've probably seen where we've talked about Wetzel Wednesdays. And I've kind of given you guys a little foreshadowing of what Wetzel Wednesdays are. Next year, it is the desire of Wetzel County Schools to have hour delays every Wednesday, much like Marshall County, our neighbor to the north, has, to really engage in deep professional development. We have planned that professional development, and if you will look at where it says Wetzel County 2022-23 K-8 PLC snapshot, if you look through that, you will see that the elementary principals and their director have worked through an entire year of Wednesdays and what the teachers would be doing that hour that they would have each of those Wednesdays that are available next school year. Of course, this is going to be a very large task, because this is going to involve transportation. It's going to involve a lot of planning beyond this with our principals and with our teacher leaders. But I am very pleased with what the high school principals have come up with thus far. I mean, the elementary principals have come up with thus far. If you look at the bottom of the elementary plans, they have 4 focus areas, and this is going to be a big thing on our social media beginning tomorrow. We're going to really promote the 4 focus areas for elementary, and then you'll see high school after we do that. Elementary, the 4 focus areas are data, PBIS, which is positive behavior support, the tiered system of support, West Virginia tiered system of support. You've heard it called MTSS. In the old days, we called it RTI, you know, just same as it ever was, but not really. It gets better every time. Collaborative teams and instructional strategies for the elementary. Those are the 4 areas. If you look then on the back, you'll start seeing where it says Wetzel Wednesday High School. And the high schools have gotten the first quarter planned out. They've begun their planning process for the first quarter. They will finish that work within the next principal meeting or so and have that ready to go by the end of the school year. Their 3 areas of support are student and teacher support, which they're really, if you look at this first quarter, they have really honed in on student and teacher support for the whole first quarter. Second quarter, they're going to work on high expectations and frequent monitoring of student progress. Well, lo and behold, where have we seen frequent monitoring of student progress? That's number 6 in the West Virginia Standards for Effective Schools. For the second semester, they have decided to take the whole second semester and deal with literacy and numeracy across the curriculum. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to be doing literacy and numeracy across the curriculum for the year. What that means is teachers will really be honing in on that skill for themselves and refining their craft during that second semester. So these are the areas that we are wanting to pursue and want to work on our Wetzel Wednesdays next year on every Wednesday, an hour delay, and that's what we want. So we will be bringing this to you probably as an agenda item in a future meeting.
Okay, that was gonna ask,
Yes.
because parents
Yes,
will need to know.
yes,
Okay.
yes, so we'll bring that to you as an agenda item, but I just did not want anyone sidetracked, and I want you to know that this is just not a dream that we have and something that we're just throwing out to you. We have thoughtfully planned for this. It is something we want. It is something our principals are very dedicated to, and many of our teachers are very excited that we are considering this. So,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I appreciate it as a former teacher because when you have to do all of those things that are listed on here, you're trying to do that, plus also teach to the best you can, plus keep up on everything with that, and this might just help a little bit with being able to accomplish more.
That's right. At least they get an hour every week where they can focus on that. Right now, the way it's going, we don't get that. So, yeah, I agree 100%. And the last thing I have to bring to you, and I'm gonna also tell you with this, when we do our accountability piece at the end of the meeting, Mr. Houston and Mrs. Standifer are going to talk to the three of you in a little more in detail about the planning process and the things that they've done to work with their principals and how all this has come to be. So they will go a little bit further in that with you at the end of the meeting during the accountability piece. The last thing I have is the school reconstruction plan, the Wetzel County way. We know that we do have a CSI school in Wetzel County, and that is Shortline School, and they have been a CSI school for a number of years for a number of reasons, one of which that we can't overlook is the fact that we do have COVID, and that has put a damper on a lot of things that we do. Not the only reason, and there are other reasons, but and we will discuss those as the state report comes back with everybody at a meeting. But this brought up the whole idea, what are we as a county doing to be proactive about this instead of reactive? And do we have to wait until the state identifies a school as needing help, or can we do it on our own? We're smart enough to do that. We have the background, we have the experience, we have smart teachers and people working in our system, and we can do this on our own as well, and at least we can help the state in making improvements, if nothing else. But we feel that we know what's best for Wetzel County Schools. So we've come up with the school reconstruction plan. We have begun this school reconstruction process at Shortline School now. We have out there, if you look at this school reconstruction plan, it is a concise, cohesive plan focused on goal setting, long-term interactive training, and it's a school-wide plan of improvement. It's not just for schools identified as CSI schools, and like I put in this, whatever acronym they're going to use in any given year, but it's our protocol that we're going to use for not only those identified as CSI schools, but for any school that really may need it or comes to us and requests this additional support based on a particular problem or need that they are having. It's not punitive, it's proactive, and you'll see many of the things in this, if you look at this, is very similar to the items that we're working on in the teacher leadership framework. It's many of the things that we've worked on with our Wetzel County strategic plan, so there are no surprises in this. I do say, I can't say that it's not rocket science, because teaching is rocket science. In fact, and who was it today that said teaching's harder than, what was it you? Teaching's harder than rocket science. I mean, there are so many things in play. And so I can't say that it's not rocket science, but what I can say it is consistent with the plan that we have in place for Wetzel County. You'll see the objectives as you go through. You'll see the curriculum overview that we have. And I'd like for you to look at the last page with the team configuration, because that will really help you when you're trying to wrap your head around what we're doing at Shortline School. We have in a pre-K 8 team configuration, which is what Shortline School is. We have a team leader as assigned by the superintendent. That team leader at Shortline School right now is Margaret Stein. Margaret Stein was principal for years at an award-winning exemplary school in Payton City at the elementary school, and she is leading the school leadership end of things at Shortline School. We have an administrator that's assigned to grades pre-K through 2, Mrs. Ammons, who is the assistant principal at Shortline School, is over pre-K through 2 for the means of school improvement. She is still assistant principal for the whole school. She doesn't get off that easy, but she is going to be doing the school improvement initiatives in a very focused PK through 2 area. We have an assigned specialist over grades 3 through 5, and that is Dr. Eric Inch. We have moved him from his present TIS job and have put him out as a school improvement specialist. He has an EDD in leadership, and he is a guru at curriculum mapping and at scope and sequence and at alignment. He's gifted at alignment. He sees things, and we thought putting him in that 3 through 5 made sense because he could bridge the gap between the pre-K 2 and then the 6-8, and he could act in the middle there and work with those teachers and do that alignment from the middle. The assigned administrator for grades 6 through 8 is the principal at Shortline School, Mrs. Green, who also will be principal no matter what, but she is, for the purposes of school improvement, going to be focusing on grades 6 through 8. The school leadership team figures prominently in this. We have an SREB, critical friend and mentor, that will be assigned. We have West Virginia Department of Ed personnel that have already been assigned. And our Wetzel County Schools Elementary Director, Mrs. Staniford, and then the rest of us, we're just, just icing on the cake. We will be in and working and helping. I went out and I spoke with, and Mr. Cook, we went out and spoke with Shortline's faculty on Friday. They were receptive and seemed to be excited about next steps. So this is the plan that we have in place, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
This starts when?
It
Now?
started today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Is that all on this?
That's all. Yeah.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is under superintendent's recommendations, is the approval of the minutes from the statutory portion of the March 14th meeting and the regular session from March 14th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Has been moved to accept the minutes from the March 14th statutory and regular meeting. Is there a second?
A second?
Has been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions regarding those minutes? Not hearing any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You are approved. The next item on the agenda is personnel matters. Board members, are there any questions relating to personnel matters that would require an executive session tonight? Not hearing any, then is there a motion relating to personnel matters?
I so move.
And it has been moved to accept the items under personnel matters. Is there a second?
Second.
Has been moved and properly seconded. Again, any questions? Not hearing any, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It is approved. The next item on the agenda are routine matters. Again, there's some out-of-state trips coming up, some requests to attend and be released from Wetzel County Schools. You've received those in your packets. And then there's some school use facilities use, which I believe relates to the primary election in May and the general election in November. Any questions about the routine matters? Not hearing any, is there a motion?
I move for approval.
It has been moved to accept the routine matters. Is there a second?
A second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Again, not hearing any further questions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. The next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Did he have anything for us this evening?
He did not.
Okay, so we can scratch that. off the agenda as well. And then that brings us to board member committee reports. I know that policy committee's been waiting on legal, and I know, Mr. Barkers, you've been in contact with them, and slow and steady. And
Correct.
they're looking at a pretty large section of the policy right now, I believe, and some
Yeah.
complicated issues that's taking them some extra time to work through.
We've been working through some of her questions back and forth with the other administrators, and she's got about a handful of policies left to go through, she said.
Okay. Thank you. Any other board member committee reports this evening?
Anything from lifetime?
No,
Okay.
you might mention about the Thursday meeting, if you wouldn't mind, the Thursday meeting up at.
And we did, we can put that
Were you
in,
going
it is part of the, yeah, we can mention that we did, board, did receive its regional training that happens. We're required, by law to have professional development in some senses, 7 hours worth of continuing credits, every year, as board members, and that can come in various ways. You can go to state level meetings, there's online meetings, and then our regional meeting was held Thursday. Very informative. Our legislature is very, very busy with education, it seems like every year. And they expounded on a multitude of changes in the laws, some things that folks thought were gonna be changes in the laws that didn't get changed, and so we sat through about, 2.5 hours of just one after another of legal issues the other night on Thursday. But yes, we, 4 of the board members plus Mrs. Wells was able to attend that regional meeting on this past Thursday. Any other things relating to those reports? Next item on our agenda then, Mrs. Wells, is the discussion of policy 2322, West Virginia Support Accountability.
Yeah, I'd like to, for Mrs. Stanford to go first if you would. I don't know if you have the math field day results, but,
I have the math field day results, which I will go ahead and go over right now.
yeah.
I do not have the names though.
Right, that's okay, yeah.
But,
But we'll bring them here.
but we had regional math field day on Saturday, and, we ended up having 3 alternates and 4 that placed. So that is really outstanding for us. Really tickled about that, and they will be going to regionals, I believe it's the 26th.
We'll be going to states.
States.
I mean
Yeah.
state, yeah, I said regional, state,
Yes.
the 26th,
Yes.
so. That was nice to see. We're gonna be picking our science curriculum this Thursday, so we'll be bringing that to the board soon after that. And that's a big decision to make, so. As for the Wetzel Wednesdays, we put a lot of work into it. We've met 2 afternoons with our administration, and it wasn't an easy task.
Mhm.
I mean, there was a lot of discussion about where to go with it and what to do. And we have our 4 focused areas: data, PBIS, tiered system support, collaborative teams, and instructional strategies, which we didn't say we're just gonna discuss data the first 9 weeks, because we're gonna do that all year long. So those are 4 focus areas, but they're mixed throughout the entire year. And we also know too, that when you plan for an entire year, could change.
Right.
Okay, I mean, it's not something like, we know we have to be flexible too, but at least we have an outline of where we wanna go with it. And I think the principals really did an outstanding job putting this together.
I do too, and I also forgot to brag on the county office staff, because the county office staff stayed for that and helped work with that
Yes.
too. Instead of just going off into their own offices and doing their own thing, they actually stayed and worked and did, so
Mhm.
that's good.
So
The
it was
principals,
a good process.
the principals have taken it very personally and
Yes.
have really worked hard. to
They
make
want to
this
see
happen.
it happen,
Yes,
and they want it to be successful.
yes, exactly. Thank you, Mrs. Stanford, very much. Mr. Houston?
I'll just go ahead and continue with what's on Wednesdays. It's taken the high schools a little bit longer, because they're very different, each one of them's different. Sometimes it's like herding cats. It's not really a negative thing, but it is, you know, and,
You're
but.
gonna pay for that, Mr. Houston.
I'll pay for that, but I have some interesting sayings sometimes. But, so, we came up with 3 focuses. First one is teacher and student support. We felt that we were going to start the year off with a focus and emphasis on that, you know, making sure that we have a good start to the school year, making sure we're meeting the needs of students, but we're also meeting the needs of our teachers. That's our main focus for the first 9 weeks. Then we're kind of moving to more emphasis on high expectations and progress monitoring. Not that we're not monitoring progress through it all. And then the second semester, we're really going to ramp up the literacy and numeracy across the curriculums. You know, I think that's one of our downfalls when we see on the SAT, you know, trying to apply everything across the different curriculums. Also with our Wetzel Wednesdays, you have to think of, it's flexible. We have usually 1 to 2 items that we want to make sure that we hit, but the starting point of our Wetzel Wednesdays is going through how student teacher support goes along with the high expectations and or the highly effective standards of schools. Okay, I'm thinking I made it to the first semester and I just didn't have the second 9 weeks down.
Okay, well, good.
But
Well, as we get it, we'll bring it to the board.
yeah,
Let them see it,
yeah. The first time we started, we were kind of a little bit all over the place, and then we came back together, and we were able to narrow it down a little bit.
This is so new for all of us.
This is very new, and I kind of envision it kind of like I would envision it kind of like our directors' meetings every Monday. Mrs. Wells hits us with that standard right off the bat. She usually takes, sometimes she takes longer, but it's anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, and it's just refreshing us, getting us on our focus, and then we go to where we need to be. And that's what I envision with our Wetzel Wednesdays. You know, and it's a fluid document. It could change based on what our needs are. You know, it's just that guide that gets us moving in a certain direction. And I think it's going to be very valuable. I wanted to just comment on a presentation I heard tonight. And I'm totally supportive with trying to work with the chamber on this. I have some questions, but I didn't think I would like to talk to Sharon about those before I get into it. But I think it's an excellent opportunity for our kids, and I can see how I might be able to tie that into some of our CTE programs and potentially maybe get those kids some CTE credit. I'd have to delve in that in a little more detail. But
Well, there's some entrepreneurship curriculums.
yes, I know, but you know, I'm just got to make sure the hours are there. Also, we're going to have our meeting Thursday to finalize our science adoptions for high school. So we could be coming forward with that. We pretty have consensus on 3 subjects and pretty close on the other 3. So it shouldn't be an issue. I think we have some good choices. Also, something that we're working for next year, and it'll probably be in our strategic plan, is training our teachers and our principals on the tiered interventions that should be taking place in our schools. Have a meeting at 9:30 in the morning with Stanford, and JC is on that with the State Department at 9:30 in the morning to try to finalize trainings for this summer for our principals and offerings for summer academy for our teachers. I really think, you know, the tiered interventions are gonna be a big big part of Wetzel Wednesdays as well. Also going to finalize some iReady trainings probably this week for our new teachers, but also for our teachers that are not familiar with that. And also probably build a training for more advanced teachers. I'm about 90% sure I think we're gonna continue with iReady benchmarks in the high schools, probably be a little bit different. But we need the information, and we get really good information from that benchmark. So that's kind of the state of high school right now.
Thank you.
The science curriculum, that's textbook adoption,
Yes.
that's pretty much, okay.
Yes.
Mrs. McPherson?
Thank you. Good evening. Starting off with the world of child nutrition, things are getting quite interesting in that world right now. I had the the pleasure of being in Washington, D.C. when a lot of things were happening, and unfortunately things didn't go the way that we had hoped they would. So the big news is that all of the waivers that have been in place to allow us to operate the child nutrition programs throughout COVID are going to be gone as of June 30th. Now, how does this affect Wetzel County Schools? For us, the two main areas, number one, non-congregate feeding. So where during COVID we were allowed to send food home, that's not going to be allowable any longer. So we will have to once again go back to our summer feeding sites, and students will have to find a way to get to those sites for those meals. The other portion, the other part where things will be a little different is that the meal pattern will become stricter again. Like I said, we were very fortunate we've been able to work on waivers, and we're still hoping that USDA will grant a few more waivers, especially with our supply chain issues for the future. But as of right now, until we get some more information, June 30th, we will go back to business as usual in the child nutrition world, although the rest of the world is not quite to that point yet. So it's going to be interesting, but we will, as I've always told my other child nutrition professionals in the county, number one, did you feed the kids today? Yes. Okay, we can solve anything else. Feed the kids. The other big news coming up is that April 1st is the official date that the numbers are pulled for CEP, which is Community Eligibility Provision, and that allows us to feed our students breakfast and lunch for free. So that data is pulled on April 1st, so I am making sure right now that all of the data that's currently in the system is properly is correct, to make sure that that is as accurate as possible. Switching hats here a little bit, Wetzel Tech, we've been conducting tours for sophomores and for 8th graders, and we're working on expanding our health science program with what we have available right now. So there's a couple other things in the works, but we'll wait till they're more solidified before bringing them up here. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kimball?
Right now, Mr. McPherson and I are kind of putting together a summer calendar for our trainings for June, July, and August. So I think we're trying to get that pretty well hammered out so the teachers, the principals, and those in the schools have an idea of what's coming up so they can plan accordingly. So hopefully before too long, a couple weeks, we should have pretty well everything out there.
We're aiming for April 15th.
Yeah, so hopefully in a couple weeks everything will be out there. The nurses met on St. Patrick's Day and got trained on Narcan, and they're actually actively working on a Narcan policy to have it able to dispense in the school system. So that'll be another policy that we'll get to Mr. Barkus. It's really close to being in my hands, and the whole purpose of that is you can hope that it's never used. I hope it expires in the cases that we have for them, that we never have to use it. God forbid we have to use it, we'll have it available once the policy and everything's taken care of, so there'll be training, we'll have some at the tech center, and we already have someone trained there and someone here at the board office as well. Our extended school year is coming along, we've got postings ready to be posted for that. And then I have a mentor training in April, so.
Summer Academy, which you and Mr. McPherson are working on, is that correct? Are we calling it that, the teachers and stuff like that?
Yeah,
College credits gonna be available for that, or did we ever get to that?
We have the option for college credits to be available through Marshall University
Okay.
for those.
That's-
Dr. Emsch, it's honestly as simple as Dr. Emsch submitting a course syllabus to Marshall, and they seem to be approving them right and left, so,
Okay,
yeah.
cause that was a really good program.
Now, they cannot be paid and get the college credit. You know, they have to, if they're getting college credit, they'll not be paid.
Right,
Right,
I think that's the way it was.
always, yeah,
Okay. That was a big plus, huge
yes,
plus.
huge plus, I agree.
I'll go last.
You'll go last, okay. Mr. McPherson?
I'm kind of back to having several irons in the fire, or as it might be, microchips in factories and stuff on boats that's not here yet. And when that stuff changes, which we have delivery dates for some important things that we've been waiting for way too long for, and that'll be some upgrades. Only other big news I can think of that some people in the room will understand is that WEMIS, as we know, is changing July 1st, and we actually finally have trainings from the Department of Ed in place to get all the folks who will have to use that every day. It's going to be a change. I don't think it's as bad of a change as we might think it is, because if you're used to going shopping at Walmart and all of a sudden you go to Target, you're still going to know that you need the photo department. You're just going to go look for it in a new place this time. So I think we're going to be okay, but it's a big shift for everybody. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I have going on right now is that that's like fresh off. It was supposed to be in January, but here it's almost April. But we have some training scheduled, and it's going to be okay. As I've told a few people, it'll be okay. But it's a big change.
Yeah, it really is. Mr. Barkus?
A couple of things. Last week, Mr. Houston, Mrs. McPherson, Mr. Kimball, myself met with the counselors and went over some items that we needed to address from all of our departments. So thank the three for their help with that. And then secondly, expand on what Mr. Price and I were talking a few minutes ago with the policy manual at the beginning of this policy revision process. There were 11 sections, almost 300 policies. We're now on the 8th section. So as you said, slow but steady, we're getting there. And the last handful, just keep in mind, are very lengthy. So that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Cook?
Okay, just a couple things, but first off, you guys, the Weblos, you with me? So you got one more step, you're gonna be, Arrow of Light, but is that the replacement?
Yeah, they'll move up to Boy Scouts.
Okay, so they were, the Weblos don't exist anymore, is that
No,
what you're
that's,
saying?
they were Weeblos last year.
Okay.
Now they've moved up to Arrow Light, and then next year they'll move up to.
I just, first off, you guys, I got a soft spot for you to begin with, because most of the guys that I served with in the military, a high percentage of them were in the Scouts at one point in time or another. Now, the ones that were really smart, they ended up going to the Air Force. It's true, I was in the Marines. So, the ones that didn't take direction well, they ended up in the Marines. And just one story I will give you. There was a fellow that used to be, I think he was mayor here, his name was George Antonic. And the pronounced was Antonic from my perspective, other people said Antonic. But what a great guy he was, and he was our troop leader. And we were Weblos at that point. He took us out on a fishing trip, and we were gonna be camping out overnight and everything, and he says, I gotta run back up to the car, stay away from the water. And I felt that he talked to everybody else when he said that except me. So before he got back there, everybody was in the water, and I initiated the water by knocking the first guy in, and then he come back and he's like, oh my goodness. But his son and myself ended up joining the Marines. His son, Dave Antonic, we graduated in 1983, and he became a full bird colonel in the United States Marine Corps. And we met up for the last time. We met up in Iraq at one point in time. I believe we met up in Iraq, but I know we met up in Afghanistan in 2010 or 2009, 2010. He flew up to see me in a place called Kandahar, And we got together for a few minutes. So actually, it might have been his birthday, on Mother's Day, his birthday. There was a whole lot of celebrating going on. So we got the opportunity to get back together, and we had our 83 class reunion in 2010 with him and myself in Afghanistan. And that story came up, and the way he tells the story is so funny that everybody laughed, including his dad. But I do have a soft spot for you guys, and continue to do what you're doing and keep pushing forward. And each level, you guys will make it to the next level, and you'll see down the road how that whole thing pays off for you. In the end, when you get older and you're helping your boy, or you go in the military, or a police officer, or corrections, or whatever you do, you're gonna have those leadership capabilities that you're gonna use at one point in time or another, and it'll pay off for you. So continue doing that, all right? Okay, now, went to Fairmont State University on the 17th, the career fair. I drug Mr. Barkus with me, so we tag teamed as much as we could while we were there. It was a pretty good turnout as far as the career fair out there. I think there was a lot of different types of kids that I see now. We just were like car salesmen. We just started grabbing people and, what's your name? What are you doing? Because they just don't want to talk. And we gave out a few applications, so I'm hoping that something pans out from that. Also, the billboard, is up. We've gotten a handful of applications from that, a few phone calls. So, even one has made it well worth it as far as that's concerned, because it's very difficult to get substitutes out there that are quality. And that's what I'm looking for, is quality substitutes. I'm not looking for just a warm body. I want somebody that's gonna go in there and continue teaching what that teacher left behind for them to teach. I don't want an excuse of why you didn't do it. I wanna get good people in there. And we will continue to try to do that. The RIF and transfers, I've been around to all the buildings. I've talked to all the people that are gonna be involved in that, and they wanted to pass on their thanks to you all for how it was being handled this year. So it was a lot easier. There were a lot less tears, and since I'm not crying, they're not crying, so it all worked out this year.
One point on that is thank you for coming up with the idea.
You guys made it happen as far as that was concerned, and we can't do it every year like that, but this year I think we can rock and roll with it, and it's not as painful. But we want to keep those young teachers here and not lose them to somebody else. So that's our whole mission, and hopefully it pans out. I will be bringing you that list for the April 19th, I believe, the April 19th board meeting. So you'll see it then. Okay, that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the information. Just for clarity's sake, and I know this will end up being a bigger topic eventually, but you talked a lot of various ones about this, what's a Wednesday approach.
Yes.
And I gathered from something you said early on that you eventually plan to bring that as an agenda item.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna hold off on any questions, discussion about that, since it will become an agenda item procedurally. By law, we need to leave it alone.
Yes.
Until you bring it to us.
Sounds good.
And so I'll hold off any questions or thoughts I have about that until it actually hits an agenda. And that's all I have. Board members, anything else?
Mrs. Campbell's presentation, is that gonna require it to be an agenda item at some point, or can that be
I'm not so sure that it does. I think it might just be a curricular decision.
just an administrative?
I can look into that with the attorney, but I don't think it does.
I just wanna make sure,
Yeah.
because get it off and running and everything.
The only thing I could see that might be a question is if there is a specific curriculum, and anytime we have a curriculum, it does have to be approved by the board. So I'll look a little further into that, and if it does, we'll bring it to you
Right,
guys.
just didn't want any glitches, because it's
Exactly.
sounds like a really good program.
Yeah.
and everything.
Right.
Not hearing any other questions then, so with the date and time of the next regular meeting being 6 o'clock on April the 11th, And there's also a statutory and regular meeting on April the 19th, and then a work session on April the 26th, with those being the next three meetings scheduled for this board. I would move for adjournment.
I'll second it.
Has been moved and properly seconded to adjourn our meeting this evening. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned at 6:55.